Welcome to a ASMR chess. I have recently had an experience that has made me change my view on something. So I was at a chess club, a real chess club with real chessboards and real people, not just names on a screen. And I love playing online, but it's so interesting to sit down at a real board, and face somebody. And I did, and we played some games, and we were just hanging out, and I was not really ready for having my entire view on chess challenged. I was not ready to, I'll show you. So I played this guy. It was a rapid game, and he played d4. And I played knight f6 because, if you are a regular on this channel, it's a bit sad video maybe, that I play one knight f6 after d4 because I want them to play c4 and I want to play e5, the Budapest Defense. And this is exactly what I got, but I was not ready, guys. I was not ready. So in this video, I'm saying goodbye to the Budapest Defense. I had an experience in this game that I'm going to show you that just proves to me that I cannot play this opening anymore. And it was pretty mind-blowing actually, because my opponent in this game was not some chess grandmaster or anything. Like, he was a young cool guy with cool hair and a very original idea. And yeah, I can't keep on like this. I can't keep playing the Budapest after I've seen this. So he played pawn takes pawn. This is theory, this is what they do. And I was happy. I played knight g4, attacking the pawn. We are going in for the Adler-variation. If they play knight here, or they play bishop here, those are the two big moves. I've had this position against a chess grandmaster, and he played the bishop f4. Like, he won the game, but it was not because he refuted the opening. It was because he was a grandmaster, and I am certainly not a grandmaster. And I've been playing this, guys, for so many years, and completely casually, my opponent played a move that I have never seen before. He played knight c3. He's just ignoring everything. And I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be easy. It's not going to be a problem at all. Because this can't be a good move. If it was a good move, I would have seen it. Somebody would have played it against me, right? I would have read it in some book at some point about the Budapest. It would have been covered, right? So it's not protecting the pawn. Usually they go for protecting the pawn with either this knight move or this bishop move, right? But no, none of these. Just knight c3. I'm thinking I'm not going to capture this yet. I'll just play knight c6 because I can capture this at any moment. My opponent plays e3. He's blitzing out these moves, and this guy, I actually think my rating is even higher than his. So I'm just thinking, oh, he doesn't know the opening. He's freestyling some stuff. This must be theoretically good for me, because otherwise I would have seen it, right, guys? I would have seen these moves. I would have seen these moves. But no. So now my knight is attacked by the queen. So I play knight takes pawn. You know, getting this structure that I think is it's a normal Budapest structure. I just think it's better for me. I'm thinking I have a great advantage out of the opening, right? And here my opponent plays f4, attacking the knight. And I'm still suffering from this illusion that this must be good for me. And I can see, of course, well, there's a lot of pawns in the center. Actually, pretty decent development. But I'm just not able to evaluate this objectively. So this knight has very limited scope. Cannot capture here because of the bishop. Bishop, queen and pawn. Queen, so g6 is the only move. And I was sitting here thinking, okay, he's blitzing out these moves, he doesn't know the opening. I'm going to play some bishop out, I'm going to castle, everything will be fine. My opponent here, this young upstart, it's just completely fooled me, plays knight f3. I play bishop out. This is a great square. Bishop c5, taking this pawn. And now h4. Where is that knight going? Where is that knight going? And I'm repeating myself like I sound like a broken record, but I thought I was doing so well here, and that's so dangerous in chess. Don't do that. Don't let your ego or your biases or your prejudice sort of cloud your judgment, because maybe I could have saved the game if I started just respecting my opponent's moves and actually thinking about it. But I was so sure that this was wrong, and I was interpreting everything as if it was wrong. I was saying, okay, there has to be a weakness with this, because it's not theory, it can't be correct. You know, I was being super dogmatic, and that's just not smart in life and not in chess. And this is going to play, he's going to play h5, attacking the knight, and the knight, then if I have to play this, which probably I should, then my whole plan falls apart. And I got absolutely crushed from this position. I played a5 because it's a move that's usually very good in the Budapest defense, but it just doesn't do anything here. Like, he has his original pawn play is just it's just too fast. Like, I want to be the attacking person, I want to be the attacking player in the Budapest defense, and I'm just not. And he's just playing this, and I went home and I put it in the computer. I was like, okay, I have to figure out what the refutation of this is, so that the next time I play the guy that plays this like ridiculous offbeat opening, I can really punish him, show, you know, who's boss, and show the power of the Budapest defense. And do you know what? Stockfish running on an i9 9900K, you know, overclocked. I've had it simmer for 30 minutes on the game. it just says that everything white is doing is completely correct and white is +1. That means that white has close to a winning advantage. And I have no interest in counterplay. And white has, you know, good development, attacks against, you know, my knights. It can start taking more control of the center once this bishop has been taken care of. It's just, I just got completely destroyed. You can even play f5 in some positions. I got completely destroyed, and I've been, you know, then I was like, okay, I'm going to search and search and search until I find a way where I can make some traps or make this interesting in some way, so I can keep playing the Budapest. So I can say, okay, it's an unsound opening. There's this super rare variation that I have never seen before, but it's not correct, and there's no tricks. I've been looking at it for hours and hours, trying to find something, trying to prove something. So I'm saying goodbye to the Budapest Defense, and probably the next video will be one of these learn a chess opening and relax videos, where I'm going to explore a new opening against 1d4 for black, because I need something new to play. And in order to, I'm not going to show you the rest of the game, it's embarrassing, frankly. I'm just going to say that if you ever face the Budapest Defense yourself, and you are, you are afraid of all the traps and tricks and rook-lifts and all the tricky stuff that black can do, like this random Danish chess player has just shown the way. I don't know if I looked it up, okay? I looked in the databases. Less than 1% in this position here. Less than 1% of the games have knight c3. And it looks like it's the best move, I think. And it's less than 1, also in the Masters database. Like the Masters and the Grandmasters, they don't play this. But, you know, this is my recommendation. You just play knight c3. And you're just saying, yeah, you can capture the pawn. Or you can play the knight out. Then I'm going to force you to capture the pawn. And you just play f4. And there's no tricks here for black. You have to be a little bit careful as white. But look, you have all the center, like it's just so good. It's just so good for white. And so easy. And I don't know how nobody discovered this before. So, in order to say farewell to my friend the Budapest, I'm going to show you one of my nicest wins I had, and then I don't think you will ever see me play that opening again. But maybe I'm giving you a very good weapon against this as black. Okay, so let me show you one of my best games with the Budapest, and then we have to find a new opening for the channel. Put your suggestions, what I should pick up for my main weapon against 1d4. Put it in the comments, and I'll explore the different openings and see which one suits me the best, and then I'll learn it, and then I'll make a video about it. Okay, so here is my game, one of my favorite games with the Budapest Defense, in order to say goodbye to my old friend. I've had so many adventures with this opening. d4, knight f6, c4, and e5. Pawn takes on e5, knight g4, attacking the pawn, and none of this horrible knight c3 business. No. Knight f3 defending the pawn, bishop c5, coordinating an attack on f2, therefore e3 defending, giving me time to play knight c6, attacking the pawn once again. Knight c3, knight takes pawn, the knight on g4 takes the pawn on e5, and here is the first little wrinkle of this game. My opponent goes out of theory, but not in a way that is making me reevaluate everything I know about chess. Instead, they play knight to d4. So, just saying that they want to simplify the position. Of course, there is no knight takes knight, as pawn takes knight would then fork these two pieces. Therefore, I just castle, and my opponent plays bishop to e2. So this is pretty nice for me. If they play knight takes knight, I can play knight takes knight. I have at least equalized, I would say. I have not committed my pawns to any particular pawn structure, meaning that I can basically do whatever I want, strike at the center or make a flank attack. I can go for the rook-lift still. So I'm at this point in the game very happy. And I want my opponent to show their hand a little bit. So there is this waiting move that we very often play in the Budapest, which is rook e8, just giving this knight an extra defender, putting the rook on the semi-open file. It's a very solid move. It does a lot of good things, and it is not showing our hand. We are not saying, are we going for the rook lift, or are we playing d6, which would open up the bishop, but would make this rook lift impossible. And now my opponent castles, so that's nice. So I know that I can pretty safely start focusing my attack on the king side, because the king is going to be there. He's not going to just pretend he's going to castle over there and then stay in the center, or even castle queen side, and then I will have all my pieces in the wrong part of the board. So pretty nice. This allows me to jump in with the queen. Computer analysis has shown that this is a little dubious of a move in this particular position, but my opponent does not see. My opponent does not yet see that here is knight d5 is pretty nice going after this pawn. My opponent realizes this a bit too late. So they play this little interesting move here, rook to b1 instead, possibly preparing to get rid of this knight and have this pawn supported for a push like b4, trying to embarrass this bishop. It's a pretty interesting plan actually, although knight d4 would have been way better. So I can see that this b4 move could potentially be problems. So I play a5, and this is a move that I want to play anyways because of this rook lift idea, you know. And also now I have this square firmly under my control. Is going to be very hard. So some a3 b4 is even not really possible here. Therefore we see the opponent go for b3 instead. This is also a much more common setup. So we want the bishop here on b2, looking at my king, a counterattack. It's also not being blocked by this pawn if it gets on the long diagonal. And here is the maneuver that is the whole reason that I started playing the Budapest Defense, rook a6, because because I want to do the rook lift. And now my opponent plays knight d5. So they maybe thought that it was clever to wait a little bit, because they saw that it would be extremely hard for me to defend the c7 pawn, because as soon as I would play something like bishop back, in order to defend it, they would just snap that bishop off, and without this bishop, it's much harder for me to attack their king. So maybe they think that they are very clever. They are, of course, threatening a fork here on the two rooks. I want to clear the path for the rook to come and attack here. And there's this fun little way to do it with knight takes knight. This looks really bad because pawn takes knight. And there's this fork here on these two pieces, so it looks like I'm going to be losing a piece. But here I played bishop takes d4, which is, I think, quite nice, using the fact that this queen is here, and probably my opponent was thinking that they could kick the queen with some g3 move and then come in and capture the pawn. But even after something like g3, I actually have queen here. And it is extremely hard to kick this queen away, because you would need this bishop, and this knight here is actually guarding against all these squares from which the bishop could kick the queen, you see. And yeah, so g3 does not work, but there's, of course, this backup plane with knight takes on c7 with this fork on the rooks. Okay, and here, you know that what I want to play, of course, is rook h6. And that's what we usually do in the Budapest Defense Adler-variation when we are met with something landing on c7, like we can play this move and we can go for this checkmate threat. Do you see why it doesn't work here? Do you see what my opponent, how my opponent was justifying coming in with this? It's this bishop, you know, actually just coming in and capturing this rook here. You see? So I couldn't play this normal move here. But I had a plan. These are the kind of fun plans that we do in the or like used to do in the Budapest Defense. So rook d6. Because this threatens bishop takes f2 check, rook takes f2, and rook takes queen. So the queen is now under an indirect attack here. And something like attacking the rook doesn't work because I can get out of the... I don't even need to actually, I can just capture here still, because it's still going to be checked. So yeah, so you have to move the queen, queen c2, getting out of that. When this bishop is no longer attacked by the queen, I'm playing rook g6. So now it's harder for them to kick my queen away and then capture this bishop, because it's no longer attacked, and I am keeping out of h6. I need this guy to move so I can play rook here, but rook on g6 is also very dangerous, because I have ideas like queen here cannot be captured because of the pin, and then queen takes. Okay. And my opponent plays knight takes rook, which of course made me very happy, because now I'm down a bunch of pieces, and that's just exciting. So I can get into the attacking. I can feel like the magician from Riga, you know. I can feel like, oh, I'm sacrificing. I'm playing exciting chess, and you know, it really gets me going. it should be noted that this plan of queen here with this checkmate threat, it doesn't actually work in this particular position, because queen takes rook is threatening checkmate, and when I recapture that, then they can take my queen, and I'm going to be losing material there, because I'm also I also lost the rook. So I want something else to land on h3. And what's the only piece that's not part of the action? What do we usually use? The tempi we gain when this knight jumps around and captures all of our pieces. What do we use that for? It's to unleash this bishop, the only one that's not playing a part. So I play pawn to d5. Objectively, I think at this point actually white has a slight advantage. It's a super double-edged position, but you know, you have to defend very accurately here. You can see all of the white's pieces are, except for the very adventurous knight, then all the pieces here are on the back, two back ranks here, so they're not very organized. They're not controlling a huge part of the chessboard. And my opponent here was not really. It's so, like, I don't want to be. It's super tough to play this. Like, in reality, bishop e3 is it's the only move that actually works to keep white's advantage. Every other move gives black some kind of advantage, and the one that my opponent chose was also a bishop move. It's bishop b2, trying to get rid of this very dangerous bishop with all these possible sacrifices on f2, you know, because it ties the rook up here, because otherwise also like the queen could come in and capture. And that was what I've been waiting for, because what was the square that I really wanted to go to that I was not able to go to? Well, that was, of course, h6. Right? With the bishop gone, I can go to h6. There's no time to play bishop takes bishop, so h3 defense. And we already started sacrificing our pieces. They can only take them one at a time. And what is the sacrifice we always do in the Budapest Defense Adler-variation when we have this checkmating battery? It is, of course, bishop takes h3. I didn't even calculate it. I had the feeling in the game that either this is the correct move, or I'm losing anyway. Because if this is not the correct move in the position, that means that my attack is not going to work, and then I'm just behind on material. I'm just so far behind. So there's no pawn takes bishop, because after queen takes, it's actually impossible to stop the checkmate. So that doesn't work, and there's actually not much you can do. My opponent had a brilliant idea. They played knight f6, which I really love, because if rook takes knight or queen takes, then they can play g takes. Therefore, I just played g takes f6. Looks a little bit risky, and the point of that move was that they cleared the back rank, so they can play c takes d5, and then I play bishop takes g2, going for checkmate here, and they have the check, queen c8 check. The problem though is I can just get out of the check, because captured in this way. And here my opponent actually resigned. So there is no way to stop the checkmate if they try capturing here and they think, okay, I'm going to get out of checkmate like this or like this, then just know that you just do checkmate in 2 moves. So we check here first, forcing the king back, and then checkmate is here or here. So that is the I guess the Odyssey, or like my farewell to the Budapest Defense. It's been a wild ride. I had a great time with this opening, but if white can really just play knight c3 and have a +1 advantage, and I have no tricks, I have nothing, then it's just not an opening I can play anymore. I need to improve myself. I need to play something more sound and something more correct. And I'm looking forward to that adventure. I'm also looking forward to hopefully see you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you so much for watching.